This is the Justin Cost Podcast.
Is that better?
There we go.
Awesome.
I don't know. I think it's got something to do with my interface with my computer because I'm on my laptop.
That could be it. I have to unplug my interface just so I don't have any interruptions. The problem with that, though, is my audio quality suffers. And my son is like, why don't you have a microphone and headphones like everybody else? And I'm like, well, as long as I do these, that's all that matters. I'm not worried about quality right now, per se. So
Exactly. Well, we're connected, so.
Good. Well, Dole Shaffer, thanks for joining my podcast. How's it going?
Oh, very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. Life has been a roller coaster just like everybody else's, but I'm back at doing these, and I love doing it. I'm having a lot of fun. It's great to have you on.
I appreciate you having me.
So,
By the way, you got a very handsome, good-looking young family there.
Oh,
I admire it.
Thank you.
Congratulations. It's a tough thing to do, but you seem to be doing it well.
Yeah, we just talked about that. And we still have those conversations of how lucky we are. It's not easy to find, and when you do find it, everything falls in place, and you know that you're on the right path.
Right.
And like I said, we still talk about that a lot. There's always difficulties, and I always tell Sarah, even when things are going great, even when you have a good life, there's still problems and issues in life that come your way that you have to be prepared for, and so that's our focus. And she's very passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about what she does. We're both in it together as artists.
That's very...
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Is that the studio behind you? Is that ICB?
It is, yeah. It's ICB Studio. Yeah.
The walls.
Yeah, good times.
Here's you might say.
What's
up?
Oh, not a lot. I wanted to talk to you about a few things. You're a great person to talk to when it comes to the music industry. You gave me so much inspiration. You were obviously an instructor at the International College of Broadcasting before I was. And I remember the first day. That you talked to all of us. I remember that morning really well. And you talked to us for a good hour and a half. And some students didn't receive you as well as I did. I do remember that part of it. And everything that you had said was like spot on. Can't give you details, but a lot of it had to do with preparation. And if you want to do something that you're proud of, you need to take it seriously.
Exactly.
So that really does bring me to a couple of things here about the music industry. And you may not know this, but I'm really with these talks working on a documentary to create a dialogue of what's going on with local music across the country, across the world, and how the popular mainstream music just gets so much more attention, so much backing. It's really hard for us independent artists or solo artists without a record label to do anything.
Right.
So my first question to you, how important is it playing live, whether you're a solo artist or you have a band or a group?
Well, if you have something to sell, you need to get out there and promote it. They need to know who you are. So, as far as the business side of it is concerned, it's priority. It needs to be right up there. I mean, obviously, you don't want to go out there without something prepared. Going out there just to be playing and getting in the club. I got out of the club scene a long time ago because I got tired of playing other people's music and getting paid a few $100, going to break my back and set up and appreciate it for a few hours, and the next day they don't remember who you are. But besides that, if you're releasing anything out there you want to sell, they want to see what you are. They want to see you in person. So as far as performing, I think it's very important. That is on the business side of things. Now, as far as the inner side, the soul, you are given a gift. God has given you something special, and when you don't share that, that's torment to the soul. I mean, it's not like you need to go out and be glorified or be patted on the back for what you do, but I think the best reward in life is if you're able to put a smile on somebody else's face, then you've had a very successful day. And if you can do that every day of your life, you're doing very well. And when God gives you the gift to do that, I don't want to get any spiritual stuff there too deep with you, but you know where I am with this. I believe it's very important that you share that. I I believe it's very important whether you're, some people are not able to perform live. I mean, we're independent musicians. It's hard to get the band to do what you want them to do. So I don't even fool with that anymore. I mean, I'm always releasing stuff. I work for tons of other people, and I'm doing music for a bunch of other people that I will never perform live because I'm being hired, basically, to do that. But some of these people are going out with backing tracks, and they're playing my music, and they're talking about who I am. I have a couple clients, especially one client that toured with Allman Brothers for years. He is now, I don't know if I would say trying to revamp his career because he's hitting 70, but he's released all this music that he's written over the years that he's never been able to record. I spent a couple years with him. I think we recorded probably 60 songs, pretty close to 60 songs. And he now has me doing videos for him. So I'm, some of them I'm doing green screen stuff, or I convince him to act like he's on a stage or whatever. Some of them it's just stock footage. But, what I'm doing is basically putting a visual, sense to what he's been writing over the years. Now, he doesn't perform live anymore. But basically, I think he's doing this more for his own, to leave his track record, I guess, leave some kind of history of what he's done, because he's done very little recording in his life. And when he hooked up with me and we combined our two skills, I've basically created an entire career for him. He's got over 45 songs, I think, now he's released. He's got about 15, 20 more he's going to be doing here. And I've done, just in this last year, I've done 31 or 32 videos for him that he's released out there. So, and like I said, a lot of it's stock footage, but some of it is like old footage that he's had of his band in the past. And then I'll green screen us and put us on the same stage and make us look like we're actually there or whatever. I've had a lot of fun with it. He pays me well, he gives me freedom to do that. So, yeah, performing live is very important. Sorry, I didn't even stretch it out.
No, that's perfect. It brought up a couple of things for me. One of them is the fact that you said that people do this for attention a lot of times and glorify it. I think the guy with the acoustic guitar playing on the side of the road gets a bad rap a lot of times, don't you?
Oh, definitely. I'm in St. Pete right now, I don't know if you know that or not, but I see a lot of that. There's a lot of street musicians down here.
Cool.
And I see a lot of full hats, a lot of full tip jars. People pay well down there. Arts are much more appreciated here in St. Pete than they are any place else I've ever lived. And I have to say that's an amazing thing, because everything down here is centered around the arts. And we'll talk about this in a minute. If you want, like I mentioned to you the other day in a chat, I'm working with this guy named David Yates, who was the CEO of this Clearwater Aquarium stuff. He did the movies Dolphin Tale, and I'm sure your children are familiar with the movie Dolphin Tale and Dolphin Tale 2. And he was also the CEO of the Ironman handicap competition series that was on television. I'm not so sure what network carried it, but that just landed in my lap, and I produced 3 commercial videos for him, and he did an audiobook, and I recorded his audiobook and edited that for him, put all that together for him. So, and he's now doing 4 movies at one time here in St. Pete.
Wow.
He's done 4 of them, and they're all for the Lifetime Network, I think it is.
Okay.
One of the daytime networks, I'm not sure which one it is.
That's huge, and it goes to show it depends on where you are,
And St. Pete is funny, most of it, because there's so much into the art here. The Art Alliance here in St. Pete is amazing. All these grants and stuff are available for people like you and me, who are, don't have the money to function the way we would like.
Right.
Working on a couple grants now, trying to actually get Phil down here, believe it or not. We'll see how that goes. But
that would be cool. That would be really cool. Love a Phil Mahaffey shout out for sure. Cybertechnic Studios.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
And he's probably my closest friend. I mean, we've been friends for years, and he's always been there for me. And we're tight. So, and I would like to see him retire in a comfortable way.
Me too.
Makes sense.
Yeah, me too. Every time I get on the phone with him, we can't get off the phone. We connect really well. And
he's a good guy.
He is. He's a great guy, and he has so much knowledge, and his personality is unlike any other.
His most underestimated. I don't want to say he's an engineer. He's also a very good musician. Mm-hmm. He's probably the most underestimated talent in Dayton by far.
Yeah,
because he doesn't get out there and push it. He's done. Well, he's recorded you, he's recorded me, he's recorded I don't know how many people he's recorded.
Jeez.
He was involved with the record that I did back in 2000, whatever it was, but he played on that, and he helped produce that, and did a lot of work with me on that as well. Excuse me.
His music theory knowledge is incredible. And he's got a story to tell with his live performances.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We were talking about live performance and how important that is, different venues.
It's important. I think it's more important to stay from the club scene as far as, the dives, basically. Unless it's the Whiskey Go-Go or something like that, it's probably something you might want to avoid. The thing is try to get yourself out there and showcase as much as you possibly can. And there's our connection again. Are you still there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Obviously, the better the venue, the better you're going to do as far as an audience. It really doesn't matter. Your fan base is everywhere.
That's true. Don't you think that?
At the same time,
Well, here's my thing. What about opening up for the right band or the right group? I think that's the best way in.
That's the key. You've got a lot of new fans there, so maybe, and that's going to help you expose yourself in front of different people. Obviously, actually, that's the way I prefer it.
Do you think there's a
situation where I can do some?
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
If it's a decent, if it's a decent following or whatever you're playing in front of, this live performance is important, obviously, in any kind of situation. But when it gets to the point where you're burning yourself out and you're risking your life and your gear, the way things are today, it's kind of crazy. You don't know what's safe and what's not.
Right. Do you think there's an issue with people not listening to or not wanting to listen to new music enough? They don't want to open themselves up to it?
Yes, that's a big problem. And each generation something gets lost. Now, you know my taste in music, but I don't condemn or say anything is not art or is not music. But there are some things that I just don't want to, doesn't interest me to listen to. Now, if I'm working on a session or if I'm working with a group that I need to know more about the style that they're doing, then obviously I'm going to pay a lot more attention to that. But I've recorded everything from bluegrass to, death metal. So I've been completely across the board, I think, at this point in my life.
Yeah, there's been a couple of recordings I've had the pleasure to work on just for a school project and mixing some of your recordings, and that was always a lot of fun because they were clear, they were where they needed to be for the most part, and then you could add any color or anything that you wanted to them to kind of make it your own. But yeah, always loved your work. Always enjoy watching you play. And you had mentioned a project that I don't know how much you want to talk about, but I do want to tell you this because I don't talk to those other members, but I do listen to Trees still to this day, and there are songs that I'll continue to listen to the rest of my life, and I hear them a lot, and every time I get done with one of the songs, I think, wow, that was great. That was done really, really well and touched the heart. So
I appreciate it, and let me say this. The air on that, I have no regrets, and I'm proud of everything I've done. I personally thought I had something with the Trees. It didn't end up that way, but people's mindsets are different. You know how I am when it comes to professionalism, and that wasn't happening when I took him to Nashville. So I decided, well, I didn't think I had a future here. I love Matty. He's a great artist. He's a great writer. I had a lot of fun working with him, and the other guys, Justin and Brian as well. We brought in Phil on that project as well, and even what was the guy? We even did the reggae thing with the guy, one of the instructors there. I can't remember his name, but he was from the islands. We involved him a little bit. But yeah, I'm proud of the Trees album. That was, I took that from ground up. I did the artwork and everything on that thing, so I was very proud of that album.
It's fun doing those projects. I love every one of the albums that I work on, and I'm always tickled by it when I'm working on it, and then when I release it. And then it comes to that disappointment where, wait, nobody listens to this, or nobody really cares about what I'm doing. And I've made that comment recently on a podcast I haven't released yet to an artist. Well, yeah, I guess I did. I released it this last Thursday. And I basically told him, I was like, nobody cares when you release something. It's up to you to make them care. And I think that's something that's missing in artists, and there's not enough drive in being realistic with yourself and knowing that and then going from there. One of the things I'm wondering about is how do you get over that feeling of nobody really caring about what you release after you're proud of something? Just move on, make other recordings?
Yeah, you just got to move on. I mean, there's no, I have done, Lord, the last time I counted I was over 3,000 songs recorded in my life. So, I mean,
That's awesome.
Between me and the other artists, I've got stuff out there that I don't even remember. The thing is, though, is if I feel good about it, that's all that matters. If I feel good about it, if I walk away from a project, it didn't work, if I gave it my best and there's something there behind that shows I gave my best, move on. I mean, you can't get hung up on trying to worry about what everybody else is thinking about, what your last release was all about. I mean, there's the old saying that your art is only good as your last release, but the only person you should be comparing yourself to is yourself of yesterday. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Don't try to be like anybody else. You have been given, you have a soul, you have a mind, you have a heart. You're an individual. And as I told you when you first met me in class, your originality is your personality. It's got nothing to do.
So,
I can hear you now.
Good. We were talking about iconic voices, kind of. I'm interested in this topic because when I was starting my own music, I was talking to a Full Sail instructor and showing him my stuff, and he was like, well, go take a listen to some of these vocalists. So I did, and what I found were they were all just very, very unique, and you could tell who they were when you heard them. How important is that when you're making music that has vocals, that has lyrics?
Very important. When you hear in the underground, basically, I'm a rocker, and we had a lot of screamers, and that would basically, a lot of them sounded a lot like, a lot of copycats, you might say. And you saw a lot of that in the 80s. I'm not trying to down any kind of music, but there's a lot of the 80s where all the singers basically sang the same way. When you look at the legends, you hear David Bowie, you hear Robert Plant, Mick Jagger. They don't have to be a polished, trained singer in any way, but when you hear Mick Jagger sing, you know it's him. The same way with Freddie Mercury, you know it's him.
Right.
There's a period in the 80s where I go, okay, now is that, I'm not going to mention any names because I'm eating bad blood here, but is that so-and-so or is that so-and-so? It sounds a lot like this guy. The guitar player sounds like that guy. You're trying to figure out which band. The record companies, keep this in mind, the record companies don't care. They're looking at the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's a lot of executives in the record industries probably never even listened to the stuff they released because they're going by their team, what their team, the advice of their team mates are, as far as people who are doing that, doing the scouting for them or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's very important to have, and that's where the personality comes in. I mean, when you talk, you sound like you. When you sing, you sound like you. But if you start mimicking somebody, then, and a perfect example of that, and the singer I worked with, my first record, the record that recorded way back in a long time ago. The singer we had at the time, very good singer, very powerful, great pitch, writing was okay, but when it came to doing cover stuff, if we did a Doors song, he sounded like Jim Morrison. If we did a Robert Plant song, he sounded like, or a Zeppelin song, he sounded like Robert Plant. Matter of fact, he covered Plant very well. But when we went in the studio, it just was blah.
Yeah.
There was nothing there, you know.
Can you see me?
Yeah. See me?
No, I can't. Is your video on?
I thought I gave permission. What the hell? There we go. See me now?
Yeah, man. Awesome.
Got my head off, so I need to flip my phone a little bit.
I think it's all right.
I can't see myself. There we go.
That's good, too.
All right. There.
So we had poor connection yesterday. I appreciate giving me a chance to talk to you again.
No problem.
How's it going?
I'm doing pretty good. I can see you guys got hit with a pretty serious storm last night.
Yeah, we did. It was bad. I was in several neighborhoods today, and there was trees all over the place. Just
That sucks.
battlefield.
You know, the day I left Ohio was that one that went through, a tornado went through, that F4 that went through and got Stephenthal and all that.
Yep.
I had left that day.
We just talked about that today.
It's crazy.
And was that the first time you moved to St. Peter's, or had you been there previously?
I lived here back in 77, 78. So it's I'd always planned to come back, but timing wasn't right. So, and believe it or not, I miss Ohio a lot. And my friends are in Ohio, so I don't have a lot of people down here I know. But it's working out all right. I mean, I'm staying busy. Got a lot of work, so that's the important thing.
It sounds like it. Dayton has always been home to me. I was born in Dublin, Columbus, and then my parents moved around because of my father's job. And so every year we'd go back to Dayton and always brought really good childhood memories. So Dayton's home for me. Always will be.
Frankfield's actually home for me, but I don't tell too many people that.
Hey, that's considered Dayton. I consider that Dayton. So last time we talked about trees. We talked about how you were a former ICB instructor. You're working with David Yates, CEO of the Clearwater Aquarium, and how important is playing live. And we discussed how opening up for a band that has an established fan base was a good opportunity for a starting band or artist. We also talked about not worrying or focusing on the public opinion after releasing new material. I love that talk, and you know, the next thing I want to bring it to is, you know, should people consider starting out a group or writing music and expect to make money, do it for a living right away?
Well, it would be nice to say yes, but obviously not. Until the project's done, you don't have anything to sell, first of all. But, you know, if the project's done, there's a lot of opportunities. It's just trying to find the right avenues. It's not going to cost you a fortune, you know. I mean, there's so much technology here with the internet and stuff that you're able to. You don't really need labels these days if you're smart enough and have the time to do it. But you really need a team. You can't really do it all by yourself. You know, it's anybody that thinks they can be successful at anything and make good money at it by themselves. Yeah, maybe you can write a book, but somebody's got to print it. You know, somebody's got to promote it. Somebody's got to read it. So,
yep.
It's all about teamwork with anything, I believe. You know, now when you think about some of these artists who have created their own, you know, I've done it myself, created music by themselves completely without anybody else involved. That's awesome. You know, if you're able to do that, if you're blessed enough to be able to do that. But the thing is you still have to have musicians to play that live, and you still have to have people who's going to help you sell that, and promote that.
Right.
So it takes teamwork. It takes it takes more than one person to be able to do it. And you got the central guy who's he's controlling and calling the shots or whatever, but you're going to have other people who is much wiser than you are in other areas. And, you can't be an expert at everything.
Yeah, I call them believers. Those team players, those people that you're working around. They're
got to be believers. If they're not believers, you got them in the wrong place.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we were talking about another thing I didn't mention. We talked about how people are struggling to listen to new music or want to listen to new music. I'm constantly listening to new music. Do you listen to new music? Is that something that you're consistently doing?
You might find this ironic, but the radio in my car is always off. Now, as far as listening to new music, yes, I mean, I'm always, when I'm on the net, when I'm on the internet, I'm always looking for new ideas or, I shouldn't say ideas, I should say new avenues. Or, as you know, when you went to the ICB, if you close your mind, if you're not open-minded to what's out there, then you're basically limiting what you're able to do yourself. Now, with us being engineers, we need to understand all styles. And it's kind of nice to be involved with something that you've never heard before. You get involved with something and say, wow, this is totally different. And, kind of that's what happened to me with the trees. And I heard Maddie sing. I said, okay, it's a little different. I didn't think Maddie was like this awesome Freddie Mercury type singer. I just thought he was unique. Mm-hmm. And that's the hook. And, the fact that he could write pretty good, that was kind of nice. But I think it's important to be open-minded and listen to whatever you can. And I shouldn't say just listen. There's a visual aspect to this as well. When you watch how people perform their material or how they're producing or whatever. I love documentaries where they talk behind the scenes of how this record is put together or whatever. Because I steal ideas, basically. There's a lot of things that I do that somebody else has done. Probably 95% of the things I do somebody else has done.
Yeah.
My twist. It's how I use it. So that's the difference. Like I said earlier, it's about your personality is your originality. You're not going to create anything else that hasn't done. If you create a different instrument that nobody else has ever heard or seen, okay, that's cool, but you still need 7 notes. So, or you're going to be out of tune with everybody else.
Yeah. I like that. Personality, originality. That's good.
Yeah, that's where it comes from. It's got nothing to do with. And we both know that the industry create images. We both know that they will take somebody and mold them the way they think they can sell them. Yeah. And that works. That works, but usually doesn't work for the artist. Usually the artist ends up down the road someplace else with other issues, or their last hit was the last thing they've done was the only thing anybody remembers them by, and now it's 20 years later, and they're in rehab. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, you had something with the trees, and you had something with Matt. You did, because shortly after that project, there was another group or two that came along that sounded exactly like him. I don't know if he'd like me saying this, but or maybe he would. But yeah, and I can't think of the bands right now. I couldn't tell you, but they were one-hit wonders. But the trees weren't. The trees weren't.
I believe the trees could have done something, and I'm not going to place any blame or say anybody had any fault. Like I said, what I said earlier was that it was more of a mindset thing. You got to remember, I had a few years on these guys. Yeah, they're much younger than I am. And what I've experienced in my life, they had not even seen before in their life. And the number one killer when it comes to any kind of career is the party. So when the partying becomes more important, then that's an issue. And I'm not saying they had any issues or problems. I'm just saying when rehearsal time came, people were showing up. We had an audience carrying 12 packs. That's not right. Rehearsal's not about that. Mm-hmm. We needed to learn how to play an album we just recorded. Yeah. Because even though we did play all the instruments, we had never played it live as a band, other than, just putting the songs together or whatever. So my focus was on getting this polished and getting this out there right away. It turned into a party too quick. Mm-hmm. And when I approached the other guy and said, look, man, this is not what we're here for. Okay.
We're going to get this done, man. I'm determined. So
you just got something to do. That's all right. You know how to do that.
I do. Hopefully I'll impress you with it. My question I was asking is it possible to write music for everyone? I love pop music. I'm fascinated by this concept. In college, I was always fascinated by this question. What's your answer?
I would say, like I was saying before we got disconnected, I don't think it's possible to please everyone, to have everyone to like, everything. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, a good artist is going to be wise enough to at least open his eyes and his ears to it, and try to appreciate what's there. Because honestly, there's stuff out there I will use the word appreciate, but I don't particularly want to sit and listen to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just the same way with visual, visual arts. I mean, there's stuff I don't want to see in videos or I don't want to see in movies. It's just that's a personal taste. But so I don't think you can please everybody.
I've been listening to a lot of music without any lyrics, any vocals. As I've, I've listened to a lot of music, but now I'm listening to more jazz. I'm listening to more classical. It seems like the voice can really crowd things sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. And then you get an appreciation for the actual instrumentation itself.
Right.
I love listening to classical music because it's so well put together. I mean, it's I don't sit around and jam on it, but I listen to enough of it to be inspired by it, to actually throw some of that into my music. I mean, I have created what I consider string arrangements. I use keys to do it, but the idea is still there.
Hey, if Metallica can do it, you can do it, Dole.
Exactly.
I have a saying here that even if you serve the best food in the world, you still have to figure out how to get people to walk through the door. And that's how I look at music. I think it's the same way. It's a negative outlook in some respects, but that was something else.
It's a business.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the creativity, you want to keep that as true to yourself as you possibly can. But when it comes to trying to sell stuff, that's where you need your team. You need your marketing team. You need the people there that know who to talk to and get it out there.
So you don't need expensive gear or a professional studio to make great music, do you?
I think I'd be all right in this little room I sit in. Here I've got a nice laptop, Mac Pro that I use. I got a couple of nice interfaces. I've got instruments all over the room. I prefer, if I was going to make a record that I would want to make, I would prefer to go to like Fields and Cybernetics and use that gear and use real drums, the right type of microphones, right mic placement, etc.
Yeah.
But I can make pretty decent music right here in this room by myself. I've done it. Trust me, I've done it 1,000 times now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I feel the same way. Where can people listen to your music, Dole?
Well, okay, I lost you again. I lost you. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I didn't hear your last question.
Well, I'm going to change it. Because I've got another. It was one of my closing questions, but one of the things I want to know is, and I've discovered this about music as I've gotten older, that there needs to be a sense of predictability and unpredictability with music. Would you agree?
You mean as far as the market, or is your personal taste?
Personal taste and creativity as well. I mean, there's. We can all jam on the same chords and the songs sound somewhat different, right? There's a couple of examples out there. Piccadilly Theme, I think, is one of them. One of those songs that have the same 3 chords, but then it becomes too predictable. A lot of pop music is really predictable. So, one of my questions is how important is being spontaneous, I guess is what my question is, and doing some things on the fly.
Yes, if you want to be predictable, get in the market early before everybody else is predictable. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does.
You hear the first disco song, get your ass out there and make 20 more before somebody else does it.
Well,
if it's already been done, worn out, then you need to take a different avenue. I mean, it depends on what you're aiming for yourself as a person. As a producer, I'm going to take, if I'm in a situation where I'm able to take a style of music and wear it out and fill up my pockets, obviously I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
As an artist, the limitations are set, and I just basically put myself in a box.
You've always said that everything's been done already, and do you still believe that today?
Yes. Yeah. Now when I say it's already been done, what I'm basically saying is it's good. It's a good point with the predictable thing too. Obviously, when you're doing rock music, classical arrangements don't work very well because the rock listener is expecting the 4/4, 3-chord change, whatever. Where a nice classical piece will change your mood completely. It can change you from being, excited down to be saddened, happy, depending on, what the movement is with the classical piece. But as far as, as pop music is concerned, back to the predictable thing, yes, it is predictable pretty much because it has to be. But, as like I said, it's important to make sure that when the project's finished, it's important for you to be pleased with what you send out the door. I guess would be the best way to put that. Yeah.
Well, on that note, where can people listen to your music?
Oh God, hold the chair. No, I'm kidding. I'm all over. The best thing to do is just to Google my name because I'm on all kinds. Over the years, when the internet became the internet, I was soaking up every site I could get on. I had MySpace and all that stuff. So I'm all over the place, actually. I'm rebuilding my website right now because I got all this movie stuff and the stuff I want to add as far as the Dolphin Tale story and all that stuff. But just Google my name. As long as I spell it right, I'll pop up there and I'll be all over the place. I know there's at least 2 pages on Google with my name on it. You go to 3 pages, you might find some criminal stuff. I'm just kidding.
Well, hopefully we don't go too far with that. I'm not confident, considering that as we've discussed, people do not put a lot of effort into looking into things like that. Wish they did, but I don't think any artist is satisfied with how much they're received and how much attention that they get. But that's why we talk to you.
We may have had, I don't know if I could have been in Elvis's shoes. That would have been a pretty tough career to handle. I think he was done at some point. I think he had enough of it. That's just my opinion.
He's the greatest example, isn't he?
Believe me, there's never been anybody bigger.
Yeah, and in the last 3 or 4 months of his life weren't very great, and it's because it kind of swallowed him up. Exactly. It is a sad story.
But you lose somewhat. You lose a lot of your individuality when you become a public figure.
It's not something that I want. It's not something I want for my family. But if you could still, get what's the word I'm looking for? Appreciation from people. That as an artist is always great and a good motivator. But I don't need it anymore like I used to think I needed it. I go back and I listen to everything I work on, and I know how I need to improve, and it's so exciting to me to be able to look forward to new stuff I'm making, and like any artist, we're leaving something behind, and hopefully it leaves a great message at the end of the day.
My motto is, if I put a smile on the face, and my day is successful.
And I love that. I think that's a great outlook.
And you can do that with music. Music is basically one of the strongest emotional tools there is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a universal language.
Exactly.
Well, Dole, it's been great talking with you. We're going to have to hook up again, and hopefully in person. Let me know when you're in town next.
Actually, I'm going to sneak in for a few days at the end of the month. maybe we can hook up and hang out at Fields for a day or whatever. But yeah, I'm going to be up there at the end of the month. I'm actually coming up and picking up my daughter, and we're going to take a trip down through North Carolina, which is where she was born. And then I'm going to bring her down here and let us spend a week here on the beach. And then she's going to go back to Ohio. I'll be up there probably June 29th, I think.
Okay. Yeah, reach out to me. I'd love to meet you guys.
All right.
Meet you guys up.
We'll do.
All right, see you, Dole.
All right, guys.
Thanks.